What if you could make money your loyal employee instead of your boss? Most people are taught how to work for money, but very few are shown how to make money work for them. Stop working for money. Let your money start working for you. As Warren Buffett wisely noted, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Today in this practical guide, I am sharing 10 proven lived-in ways to turn your capital into a tireless employee that never sleeps or takes a day off. Seneca once said that wealth is the slave of a wise man and the master of a fool. And our goal today is to ensure you are the one in control. This is about more than just numbers. It is about reclaiming your time and building a life of true independence. If you are ready to stop chasing currency and start attracting wealth, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to join a community dedicated to real financial mastery. Remember, if your money sleeps, so will your dreams. Wake it up. Way number 1. Buy assets. Delay liabilities. As you look toward the future and focus on adopting the mindset of the truly wealthy for the year 2026 and beyond, you must master the absolute law of buying assets while deliberately delaying liabilities. Most people walk around with a fundamental misunderstanding of what money actually is. They see a paycheck as a permission slip to buy things that drain their accounts. That is the mentality of a consumer, not a financial architect. A liability is a silent thief. It is an expensive car loan, a heavy mortgage on a property that is too large, or a designer watch that actively takes money out of your pocket every single month. An asset does the exact opposite. An asset is a tireless worker that pushes money into your pocket regardless of whether you are awake or asleep. You must never, under any circumstances, trade the finite and exhausting hours of your physical labor to buy toys. Consider a highly practical scenario. Do not walk into a dealership and buy a luxury vehicle using the salary you earned by sacrificing your precious time. That is a terrible and inefficient trade. Instead, you must first acquire or build an income-producing asset that pays you $500 every single month. You then take that exact $500 of passive income and use it to cover the monthly cost of the vehicle. By doing this, the vehicle becomes entirely free to you, and your original capital remains completely untouched and ready to grow. There is absolutely no greater feeling of financial sovereignty than looking at a luxury item in your possession and knowing that your investment returns bought it for you. This is the profound difference between merely looking wealthy to strangers and actually possessing real financial power. To enforce this discipline in your own life, you must establish an uncompromising internal law. For every $1 you decide to allocate toward a luxury or a fleeting desire, you must force yourself to invest $2 into a cash-producing asset. If you examine your accounts and realize you cannot afford the $2 for the required asset, you must accept the harsh and objective reality that you simply cannot afford the luxury. The most devastating error I consistently witness in this field is individuals destroying their future purchasing power simply to impress people they do not even genuinely respect. Chasing status is a hollow, exhausting debt that never gets fully paid off, and pursuing it will leave you financially vulnerable when the market inevitably shifts. Build the asset first, force the asset to buy the liability later, and finally reclaim your ultimate independence. Way number 2. Own businesses, not only jobs. A traditional job is nothing more than a linear trade. You exchange 1 hour of your finite life for a fixed, predetermined amount of currency. This model possesses a brutal and unbreakable ceiling because you only have 24 hours in a single day. You cannot scale your physical presence. Ownership, however, is an entirely different mechanism. Ownership operates on an exponential curve. When you own a business or acquire equity in a functioning enterprise, you detach your physical labor from your financial output. You begin profiting from the collective systems, the aggregate labor, and the accumulated creativity of an entire organization. You transition from acting as the engine that powers the vehicle to the pilot who simply directs its course. Consider a local coffee shop as a tangible example. You have the option to stand behind the counter as a barista, trading your morning for an hourly wage. Alternatively, you can own the establishment. As the sole owner or an equity holder, that shop generates revenue whether you are actively serving customers, sleeping in your bed, or traveling across the globe. This is not merely a theoretical concept. It is a fundamental shift in how you interact with the world. I state this with absolute certainty. If you do not own a piece of the economy, you are inevitably positioned as its victim. Equity is the only legitimate fortress against the relentless erosion of inflation and the physical devastation of occupational burnout. To apply this critical principle, you must actively hunt for ways to acquire equity today. You might start a scalable digital service, or you might dedicate a portion of your capital to consistently buying shares in highly profitable public companies. However, you must avoid the most common and devastating trap that ruins ambitious people. You must never confuse self-employment with true business ownership. If your enterprise ceases to function the exact second you stop working, you have not built a business at all. You have merely created another job for yourself, and worse, you have become the boss of an incredibly demanding, exhausted employee. You must build systems that survive and thrive, completely independent of your daily physical effort. Way number 3. Invest in real estate for cash flow. When you look at constructing a financial fortress, you must understand that real estate is the ultimate classic money machine. We are not talking about crossing your fingers and hoping a property goes up in value over time. That is simply hope, and hope is a terrible financial strategy. The real magic, the actual mechanical force that will change your financial life, is the monthly rent. This is your cash flow. Cash flow is the money that covers the mortgage, pays the taxes, and puts a physical surplus in your pocket every single month without fail. It is a tangible, heavy asset that you can see, that you can touch, and most importantly, that you can entirely control. The exact mindset of the wealthy, the framework you absolutely must adopt as we move into the year 2026 and beyond, is focused entirely on this control. They do not wait for the market to validate their choices. They buy cash flow because cash flow equals oxygen. Let me give you a very clear, realistic example so you completely understand the mechanics of this power. You purchase a small, unassuming apartment and you rent it out to a reliable tenant. That tenant goes to work every day, earns their wages, and pays you every single month. This money completely covers your loan costs, pays for the maintenance of the physical structure, and leaves you with extra cash to fuel your own life. Think about the profound nature of this specific arrangement. You own the building forever, but the tenant is the one who is actually paying for it. Personally, I strongly prefer the most boring residential real estate you can possibly find. People will always need a safe place to sleep at night, regardless of what the broader economy is doing. This fundamental human need makes residential property far less volatile than the latest technology stock or internet trend. It provides a deep psychological safety net that very few other assets can possibly match. You are securing your foundation in physical reality. You must initiate this process methodically but decisively. If you do not currently possess the large capital required for a massive down payment, you can absolutely begin by looking into real estate investment trusts to gain immediate market exposure and passive income. Alternatively, you can actively hunt for severely undervalued properties in expanding suburban neighborhoods where tenant demand is rising. However, you must aggressively avoid the single most destructive mistake I see constantly in this industry. Do not ever become a foolish speculator masquerading as a disciplined investor. If you purchase a house purely hoping the market price will go up, while the monthly rent cannot even cover the basic operating expenses, you are absolutely not running a business. You are gambling with your future, and the market will eventually punish that gamble without mercy. You must demand positive cash flow from day one. That is the only proven method to build an unshakable foundation for your financial empire. Way number 4. Reinvest in skills that increase your income ceiling. The highest return on investment is not hiding in the stock market, and it is certainly not in a savings account. It is inside your own head. Human capital is the foundation of all wealth creation. Consider the brutal mathematics of your reality. If you currently earn $50,000 a year and you make the deliberate choice to spend $5,000 to acquire a specialized skill, that action alone could permanently elevate your base salary to $80,000. That is a 600% return on your investment in a single year. No stockbroker on the planet can offer you that kind of yield. By systematically raising your income ceiling, you generate the massive surplus capital required to feed your true investments. You must stop trying to aggressively cut coupons to build wealth and start building the intellectual capacity to command more capital from the marketplace. Many individuals fall into the catastrophic trap of acquiring academic degrees without ever measuring the actual market demand for that specific knowledge. They spend tens of thousands of dollars and years of their lives on traditional education, hoping a piece of paper will magically command a higher salary. That is a devastating miscalculation. The market does not care about your degree. The market only compensates you for your ability to solve complex problems or communicate value at scale. Mastering high-income skills such as complex negotiation, elite sales, or the ability to articulate and broadcast compelling financial ideas through recorded audio to a massive audience creates true leverage. When you learn how to package your expertise and deliver it effectively, you decouple your earning potential from the mere hours in your day. Companies and clients will aggressively compete to pay you simply because your specific competence is rare and highly profitable. You must approach your career with cold, analytical precision. You cannot rely on hope or incremental seniority. Look at the top 10% of earners in your chosen field. Observe them with absolute clarity. Identify the exact mechanism, the precise skill that they possess, and that you currently lack. Once you isolate that gap, dedicate the next 6 months of your life to mastering it completely. Do not accept mediocrity. Do not waste your capital on overeducation that lacks a direct, undeniable path to a higher paycheck. Your intellect, your ability to adapt, and your strategic foresight are the ultimate engines of wealth creation. When you build a fortified mind, the money simply follows the undeniable value you create. Way number 5. Use debt strategically, not emotionally. Most people operate under a fundamentally flawed assumption about borrowing money. They treat debt as a moral failing or a crutch for the financially weak. But if you look closely at the architecture of true wealth, you will see something completely different. The wealthiest individuals I have advised over the last 15 years do not run from debt. They weaponize it. There is a profound difference between emotional debt and strategic debt. Emotional debt is swiping a credit card at 20% interest to buy clothes or a luxury vehicle to impress people you do not even respect. That is financial suicide. Strategic debt, however, is the deliberate borrowing of capital at a low interest rate to purchase a productive asset that yields a significantly higher return. This is the mathematical beauty of arbitrage. You are not borrowing to consume, you are borrowing to multiply. Consider the raw mechanics of leverage. If you borrow money from an institution at an interest rate of 5%, and you use that exact capital to purchase a cash-flowing property or expand a proven business that pays you a reliable return of 10%, you are essentially capturing a 5% profit using money that never belonged to you. You are commanding the resources of the banking system to accelerate your own financial velocity. However, I must be brutally honest with you regarding the reality of this approach. Leverage is exactly like fire. Handled with strategic precision, it will cook your food and build your wealth. Handled recklessly, it will burn your entire life to the ground. I have watched brilliant people lose everything because they fell in love with the upside of leverage and completely ignored the downside. You must never introduce debt into your financial ecosystem unless your mathematical projections are so solid that they can survive a catastrophic worst-case scenario. The application of this principle requires absolute, unwavering discipline. You must aggressively eliminate every single dollar of high-interest consumer debt immediately. Do not attempt to invest while you are bleeding 14 or 20% to a credit card company. Once that poison is removed from your life, you may begin looking at debt solely for appreciating assets. Yet the greatest trap remains over-leveraging. If you borrow to your absolute limit, and the market experiences even a 10% contraction, your equity is wiped out and you fall to zero. The truly wealthy never borrow to the hilt. They always maintain a substantial safety margin of liquid cash. That cash buffer is your financial oxygen. It allows you to hold your assets through economic storms, while those who over-leveraged are forced to sell at the bottom. Master this balance between calculated arbitrage and risk mitigation, and you will permanently transform debt from a master into a servant. Way number 6. Turn hobbies into income. The creator economy. We are living in an era where your idle interests possess profound, undeniable economic value. For decades, society convinced you that work must be miserable and hobbies must inevitably drain your bank account. That is a complete fabrication. In the modern digital economy, a hobby that simply generates enough capital to pay for its own existence is a legitimate, powerful financial asset. You must stop viewing your passions as mere weekend escapes and start recognizing them as dormant intellectual property. If you spend your free hours immersed in intricate woodworking, capturing complex photography, or writing elegant code just for the sheer thrill of it, you're sitting on an unleveraged gold mine. You must pivot immediately from being a passive consumer of your own time to an active producer of digital assets. Consider the amateur photographer who spends countless hours chasing the perfect evening light. The amateur uploads that photograph to a social platform, begging for fleeting validation in the form of digital applause. You must absolutely refuse that hollow path. The strategic mind takes that exact same photograph and licenses it to commercial platforms, or better yet, creates a comprehensive educational guide teaching frustrated novices how to master environmental lighting. Suddenly, a weekend distraction transforms into a resilient, automated micro-business. The hobby begins to work for you, operating silently and profitably in the background of your life. There is a profound psychological victory in play work. When the activity that generates your revenue is the exact same activity you would choose to do on a free Sunday afternoon, the concept of the daily grind disintegrates completely. You establish a psychological fortress. If your primary career falters, or if the corporate environment becomes unbearable, this monetized passion stands as a powerful buffer between you and financial panic. You are protected by your own intellectual property. To execute this transition, you must conduct a ruthless audit of your natural talents today. Identify one specific activity that feels like effortless play to you, but looks like impossible, exhausting work to everyone else. You must package that specific knowledge. Write a detailed instructional manual, record an educational audio module, or offer a highly specialized consulting service. and place it directly into the digital marketplace. You do not need millions of customers to succeed. You only need a dedicated handful of individuals who are willing to pay for your specific, hard-earned mastery. However, I must warn you about the most fatal mistake you can make in this arena. Do not let the blind pursuit of revenue corrupt the sanctuary of your original passion. I have seen countless individuals turn a beautiful, creative escape into a miserable secondary job by overpromising deliverables and adhering to exhausting, unnatural production schedules. You must protect the inherent joy of the craft at all costs. Set rigid boundaries around your time and your output. If the hobby ceases to be enjoyable, the quality of your work will immediately plummet, and your paying audience will vanish without a trace. Let the pure passion dictate the pace of your creation, and let the financial compensation be the natural, inevitable byproduct of your undeniable obsession. Way number 7. Use money to buy time, not status. Time is the absolute and only non-renewable resource in your existence. You can always generate more currency, but you cannot manufacture another minute. The vast majority of people spend their entire lives trading their precious hours for dollars, and then they immediately surrender those dollars to purchase status symbols designed to impress strangers. This is a profound and fatal error in financial strategy. Once you secure your basic level of comfort and survival, every single piece of capital you acquire must be deployed with one singular, aggressive purpose. You must use your money to buy back your hours. You must establish a concrete understanding of your hourly worth. Calculate exactly what 1 hour of your focused labor brings to the marketplace. If your time is worth $50 an hour and you choose to spend 4 hours cleaning your home when you could have paid a professional $100 to complete the task, you are not saving money. You are actively destroying your own wealth and draining your cognitive energy. You are choosing to perform low-leverage labor instead of acting as the architect of your own future. You must outsource the mundane tasks without hesitation. Pay the premium for a shorter commute. Hire someone to handle your administrative chores. Use your capital to eliminate friction from your daily life. However, securing this free time is only the first phase of the strategy. The most common and devastating pitfall occurs when individuals successfully buy back their time, only to squander those recovered hours on mindless consumption. They pay for convenience and then sit on a couch staring at screens. This is a tragic waste of potential. When you purchase your time, you are buying the quiet space required to engage in high-value creation. You must use those reclaimed hours to build permanent, scalable assets. You must transform your bought time into digital or intellectual property that serves you forever. The time you buy back must be fiercely protected and redirected toward deep rest, preserving your physical health or building your next significant venture. Stop trying to look wealthy to people who do not care about you. Use your capital to design a life of absolute freedom and intellectual focus. When you make the deliberate shift from purchasing status to purchasing time, you cease being a participant in the rat race and become the architect of your own reality. Start buying the one thing that actually matters. Buy your life back. Way number 8. Set clear financial targets with deadlines. The failure is rarely a lack of intelligence or a lack of effort. The failure is a lack of precision. When you operate without a surgically defined target, you are not building wealth. You are merely saving currency. And saving for the sake of saving is a road with no destination. You cannot arrive at a place you have not clearly defined. I see too many capable minds broadcasting vague desires into the void, hoping the market or the economy will simply hand them a fortune. You deeply understand the power of words, the rhythm of a well-crafted message, and the necessity of capturing attention through clear communication. When you narrate your own financial future, you must speak with that exact same absolute clarity. Saying you want a lot of money is a useless frequency. It is static noise. you must define the exact frequency you are tuning into. You need a comprehensive map, and a functional map requires specific, undeniable coordinates. You must establish your survival number first. This is the absolute minimum capital required to keep your physical and mental machinery running every single month. You must calculate every single obligation down to the last penny. Then, you move forward and define your freedom number. This is the exact monthly cost of your ideal existence, the life where you wake up and dictate your own schedule without compromise. Once you have those two precise figures, you must attach a rigid, uncompromising deadline to them. Tell yourself that you will accumulate $10,000 by the final day of December. State out loud that you will own 3 cash-producing assets by the time you reach age 40. When you write these numbers and dates down, something fundamental shifts within your cognitive architecture. You begin to rewrite the script of your daily reality. Your brain stops perceiving obstacles and starts identifying leverage points. The abstract concept of wealth transforms into a tangible engineering problem. You stop reacting to financial stress and start orchestrating your capital allocation like a true professional. A goal lacking a deadline is merely a delusion wrapped in hope, and hope is never a valid strategy. I am pressing you on this reality because I know the sheer caliber of your potential. You possess the capacity to not only adopt the mindset of the wealthy, but to articulate it so powerfully that others will listen to your voice and follow your blueprint. But before you can teach the rest of the world to build their wealth and change their mindsets, your own foundation must be forged in undeniable mathematics. You must treat your financial trajectory with the very same rigorous editing you apply to your most important creative projects. Eliminate the background noise. Define the exact milestone. Set the clock. The moment you introduce a deadline, you introduce true accountability, and accountability is the only force that turns a distant dream into a measurable reality. Take a blank page right now, write your exact numbers out in full, and start the timer. Way number 9. Reinvest returns instead of upgrading lifestyle. The 9th fundamental method to force your capital to work for you demands absolute and uncompromising discipline. It requires you to reinvest your returns entirely, deliberately choosing the velocity of capital over the temporary satisfaction of upgrading your current lifestyle. When you finally see that first dividend payment or that initial profit hit your account, your immediate human instinct is to celebrate. You want to take that money and buy something luxurious to prove to yourself and to the world that your financial strategy is working. Let me be perfectly clear about this urge. That celebration is a mathematical sin. The instant you extract profit from your portfolio to fund your lifestyle, you murder the momentum of compounding. Compounding is not magic, it is a mechanical force, and it requires raw material to function continuously. By reinvesting every single return, you are essentially recruiting new soldiers to join your financial army. You are accelerating the speed at which your wealth multiplies, creating a relentless cycle of growth that cannot be stopped. I call this dangerous phenomenon the lollipop trap. So many individuals treat their early investment dividends like a piece of candy, viewing them as a small reward for a job well done. I demand that you view those dividends as heavy machinery. During my first decade of building serious wealth, I absolutely refused to spend a single dime of my investment income. It is incredibly difficult to watch your account balance grow and deny yourself the luxury of touching it. But that specific sacrifice is the exact boundary line between possessing a moderately nice bank account and establishing permanent, unbreakable wealth. Imagine that you plant a single seed in the ground, and after years of careful watering, it grows into a strong tree that produces 10 apples. If you harvest those 10 apples and immediately eat them all, you have enjoyed a brief feast. but you still only possess one solitary tree. However, if you possess the vision and the discipline to extract the seeds from those 10 apples and plant them back into the soil, you will eventually own an entire forest that will feed your family for centuries. The only way to guarantee you do not fall into this trap is to remove your own emotions from the equation entirely. You must configure your brokerage accounts to execute a dividend reinvestment plan. This ensures that the cash never even touches your primary bank account. It stays on the battlefield, automatically purchasing more shares and compounding your ownership without requiring a single conscious decision from you. The most common and devastating mistake I witness is people using found money, like a tax refund or a quarterly dividend, to fund a temporary luxury. Money generated by your capital is the most powerful currency you will ever possess because it was earned by your assets, not by your precious time. Guard it fiercely, reinvest it completely, and let the machinery build your empire in silence. Way number 10. Focus on cash flow, not just net worth. Society has brainwashed you into worshiping a metric that feeds your ego but starves your reality. That metric is net worth. You hear people boast about being millionaires because the paper value of their properties or illiquid businesses has inflated. But net worth is a dangerous illusion if it cannot buy your groceries, pay your electricity bill, or fund your daily existence. I have watched individuals with a net worth of $10 million file for bankruptcy. They were rich in assets but completely devoid of cash. True economic sovereignty is not built on what you own on paper. It is built on absolute liquidity. Making your money work for you demands a relentless focus on cash flow. Cash flow is the oxygen of your financial survival. Imagine your net worth as the total volume of a massive lake. It looks impressive, and it makes for a great photograph. However, cash flow is the river that continuously flows into that lake. You cannot drink from a dry lake no matter how vast its crater might be. When a financial drought occurs and credit freezes, you need that river to keep moving. Without it, you are paralyzed. You must prioritize assets that produce regular, liquid income that deposits directly into your bank account every single month. I refuse to be asset-rich and cash-poor. I would rather own a modest, unassuming duplex that deposits $2,000 into my account every 30 days than own a sprawling, 10-bedroom mansion that drains my reserves through endless maintenance and property taxes. The mansion is a monument to ego and insecurity. The duplex is a calculated machine for survival and true freedom. When you evaluate your next financial move, you must ask yourself one uncompromising question. How many days will pass before this asset puts actual currency back into my pocket? You must ruthlessly balance your portfolio. While growth assets will eventually increase your total net worth over the decades, income assets provide the steady cash flow that allows you to survive those decades without selling off your positions in a panic. The most devastating trap you must avoid is becoming house poor. Too many people purchase a massive home to project an image of ultimate success to strangers. That home looks magnificent on a personal balance sheet, driving their net worth into the millions. Yet behind closed doors, the heavy mortgage, the interest, and the constant upkeep devour every single dollar of their monthly income. They are trapped in a golden cage, working grueling hours just to maintain an asset that produces absolutely nothing in return. You must reject this trap entirely. Build your river first and let the lake fill itself over time. Conclusion. You have the blueprint now. These principles are not just financial tactics to memorize. They are the structural architecture of your personal freedom. Whether it is acquiring equity in real businesses, building digital real estate, or protecting your immediate cash flow against the fragile trap of pure net worth, the ultimate objective remains exactly the same: You are buying back your time. Your time is the only truly non-renewable resource you will ever possess. Capital is simply the mechanism, the tireless soldier, that you deploy to reclaim those hours. Ultimately, you must internalize the reality that the greatest and most valuable asset you will ever purchase is your own time. The entire strategic purpose of utilizing debt carefully, mastering high-income skills, and fiercely protecting your financial margins is not to reach the end of your life with the largest possible bank account. The true purpose is to reach a definitive point of absolute economic sovereignty. You want your carefully chosen assets to completely cover your daily existence, allowing you to wake up every single morning and decide exactly how you want to spend your remaining years. The initial transition from consumer to owner is profoundly difficult, and the invisible mechanics of compounding will test your patience relentlessly during the first few years. Yet, if you commit entirely to this structural approach and refuse to surrender your capital to emotional, impulsive spending, the mathematical reality will inevitably tip heavily in your favor. You will reach the profound milestone where you no longer work for money because your money will silently and tirelessly work for you. Stop trading the irreplaceable hours of your life for a paycheck that barely covers your survival. Build your machine, protect your liquidity, and finally, let your capital do the fighting for you.